Dratnos, oh my god, did you hear? After all of the feedback that the players have given the developers, they added shards into Season 4. I'm so excited.
Yeah, me too. So slightly different shards than the ones we knew from Sanctum, but a lot of changes coming into how loot is going to work in Shadowlands Season 4 and moving towards a deterministic way to get specific items. I think at item level like 285, something like that.
278 to 285, depending on the piece, is what was stated.
Yeah, okay, so like 285 from the end bosses and 278. So basically up to Sepulchre eye level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so basically the way it's going to work is that you get this quest to kill a certain amount of fated bosses. The first quest is to kill 30 fated bosses, and the way it's going to work is the fated raid is going to swap each week, right? So 1 week it'll be Nathria, next week it'll be Sanctum, next week it'll be Sepulchre, and then it'll keep rotating back. And once you kill the 30 fated bosses, you'll get an item that lets you buy any item from the raid on normal difficulty.
From any raid. From any of the three raids.
Yeah. And then you get another quest to do 20 boss kills, and then another quest to do 10 boss kills, and then it's over. But
why is this enticing? But why is this enticing? Why do I need normal raid gear?
Because when you kill bosses on Heroic and Mythic, they drop these shards. And after getting 20 shards, you can upgrade any item to that difficulty, any fated item. So any item from Season 4, right? From doing the fated raid or from buying the normal fated item, you can then upgrade to, that 278 to 285 level or the Heroic level. So this means that if you want to Jaethys real bad, you can do fated raids for 3 weeks, right? Do that quest. You might get a Jaethys from the 1 week that Kel'Thuzad is the boss, but you might not, right? And then if you don't, you can use your quest to turn in the item, buy a normal Jaethys, and then use your 20 shards, upgrade it. The next raid you do, you'll finish your 20 fated boss kills, or maybe the one after that, and then you can buy and upgrade another Jaethys if you're a Fury Warrior, or like an Old Warrior's Soul, or a Edge of Night, or whatever you want, right? From any of the raids, and upgrade it up to Mythic if you're a Mythic Raider. By contrast, if you're a normal or heroic raider, just the normal or heroic items that drop for you, you can upgrade to the higher difficulties. If you're somebody who like starts on normal, then goes to heroic, or starts on heroic and then goes to mythic, you'll be able to upgrade that item eventually once you are killing those bosses. Or even if you only ever kill the first 5 bosses on mythic, you'll be able to make end boss items into mythic items off
that would be cool.
And several weeks. Yeah.
And that is cool. And so that's basically just like a quick overview of how the system, at least philosophically, is supposed to work. I think that in this opening post, they actually said a lot, and I'll just kind of read through this. It says, Season 4 presents a unique opportunity for us to try some experimental changes that might be too volatile for a regular season, but could still provide us with valuable data and feedback that we can use to improve the game in the long term. It's worth noting that the systems we will be talking about today are designed around specific goals that fit with Season 4's shorter runtime, and it's very possible that even if they're received well, they may undergo significant iteration to match the cadence and intended progression of a normal season content. Regardless, we want to show that we are interested in continuing to approach rewards from different angles and to listen to players' desires for increasing bad luck protection and making sure that in-game rewards feel like they're matching players' efforts. I think that this is actually super interesting, and I think that this was actually the most telling part of this whole entire post. So the specifics that you just went over about like how to upgrade the gear and stuff like that, really cool. But I think for me, looking at how this whole entire season works out, seeing how the loot is end up and like the bad luck protection and stuff like that feels, that's important. But then also like integrating that just seamlessly into the game. How is this going to feel like on a long-term level? How is this going to integrate into the vault potentially? And in addition to that, something that I'm also kind of looking at is how is this going to affect Mythic Plus and PvP? Because as it currently stands right now, it's only slated to be around 30, 20, and 10 fated boss kills, which come from those raids that you were talking about from the Castle Nathria, the Sanctum, and the Sepulchre. This doesn't really interact with Mythic Plusers and PvPers, but like with what they were stating is that there needs to be further iteration. This is just going to fit with the Season 4 shorter runtime, and how is this going to be iterated moving on forward? And I think that these are the things that I am actually the most looking forward to. I don't know how you feel about the whole entire thing, though.
Yeah, I'm interested in that as well. It's also interesting that Season 4 is going to not increase the item level, right? It's going to be the first time we like go to a new season. I'm surprised they didn't bump it by another 13 item levels, right? And just have the fated raids drop like 290, 293, and 300 item level loot, right? So it's just like, if you're fully kitted in Sepulchre Abyss, you only need a couple of things, right? Like you need to go back and get your old warrior soul up to 285 if you're somebody that uses that, right? Like you probably have a trinket from Nathria, a Kabbalist hymnal or something that you want, but
Maybe
it's
some
not
slight
like you
stat
need
ups.
any items. Yeah, stat ups, like, but we're talking about like side grades or slight upgrades. We're not talking about a season that is really going to require you to go in here. We're not talking about gear that is like that much better than the pre-existing M plus vault gear or even M plus upgraded Valor gear that you'll have, right? That's 272. And this gear will be 278, 285, right? Just like current Mythic Jailer, Rygalon, Lords of Dread loot already is.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I mean, I do think that opening up deterministic gearing a little bit in the future, like expanding on this, building on it is going to be valuable if they decide to continue it, which I hope they will.
I hope they will.
I hope they build on this in like an actual raid tier rather than just in this kind of like weird season. But I mean, this is just I'm incredibly heartened to see this. This basically is exactly the kind of gearing that I think the game has been hurting for. Like I think gearing in particular that at its worst in this game is if you are that like 20th percentile unlucky, never see a Jathas killing Kel'Thuzad for 4 months, right?
20th percentile, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I think, okay, if you kill a Kel'Thuzad for 4 months, 4 out of 5 people are going to have a Jathas that do that, right? But
yeah.
1 out of 5 aren't, and that's real bad. And this fixes that, right? All of those players now have a Jathas after a few weeks. But you can see how maybe they only need to do this because instead of there being one raid that you clear every week with 8 bosses on the loot table, there's 30 bosses on the loot table and you only see each of them once every 3 weeks, right?
Sure.
So you could see how maybe they think, okay, this is a bit of a special case that calls for this experiment, but I could still see them deciding, and we don't need this in the future, which I hope they don't, but I would say don't get too sure that this is going to stay. Give that positive feedback. Give that feedback that like, hey, this made you really excited about the system. But
I think that one of the important things is like they may undergo significant iteration to match the cadence and intended progression of a normal season content, which is exactly what you were saying.
And actually, look at this as well. Season 4's shorter runtime is a phrase that exists in this post, which that is something that people have been speculating, right? There's been this speculation, like, is Season 4 designed to fill the content drought, right? Like, are they expecting to do a 2023 Dragonflight, right? And if so, do they need to do a full-length Season 3 and a full-length Season 4 in order to have something until then? And Season 4's shorter runtime at least implies that's not the case. Now, we'll have to see, right? Obviously, it could be shorter by 1 month, but it could also be a half as long season as usual. That's something that hopefully we'll know soon, because if that is true, we do need a Dragonflight Alpha soon.
That's the biggest issue, and that's the reason I bet most people, at least in our circles, kind of speculate that it's a 23 release date, is because like the lack of a Dragonflight Alpha, the fact that we still don't even have 925 yet, that's a little bit up in the air. Is like, oh, so when would Dragonflight even come out if they haven't tested any?
I think 925 could come out in the middle of the summer somewhere, and then Dragonflight could release in the 925 isn't for me the issue. It is just like the where Alpha.
When is the testing? When is the testing?
But maybe they're just cutting back on public testing. Maybe the Rygalon Lords of Dread Jailer, they're just like, oh, we don't need these scrubs testing our game for us anyways. We got it now.
Dude, the fact that they're actually willing to test the kind of like abridged or changing of this loot system in Season 4 and seeing if it works or not, and knowing that they can just kind of throw it out there because it's this abridged season, that's actually I think a massive thing, and it will allow most people to give better feedback than if it was just on a beta or if it was on an alpha, because a lot of the times you're basically giving feedback based off speculation of like the worst results,
how will
or
this
like
feel?
How will this feel? And it's like with this, I will almost certainly know how it does feel and be able to give a little bit better feedback.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried that like they'll learn. Like, I'm a little bit worried that Season 4 is going to just not be that popular to raid in, because like a lot of guilds are going to have 5 or 10 people that aren't that interested, and if your guild has 5 or 10 people that aren't interested in doing something, the other 15 people have to try really hard to like crack the whip and bring them to those raids. So I feel like there are going to be quite a lot of like cutting edge raiding guilds that don't do too much Season 4 stuff, and I hope they don't learn the wrong lesson that like this loot system was the culprit. I hope this loot system is indeed like something that they will expand on going forward. I hope it's something like interrupts being off the GCD, or like flying, where it's like once they give it to us once, they can never take it away because we'll complain too much.
Are you excited? Okay, so a little bit off topic. Are you excited for Season 4? Because like for me, I think I'm like excited, but I'm like pretty medium on the whole thing. I think that the season 3 stuff has actually been really good, and I've been really enjoying it. So I'm not even like that. Oh shit, season 4, I need it now, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I like these. It's a lot of stuff where it's cool ideas, and yet I don't know how many times I want to zone into Sanctum of Domination ever again in my life. It may be 0 times. It may be 1 time. It's probably not all that many times. So all of the like cool systems around it that are coming sound so cool, but I'm gonna have to see whether they can actually push me into that raid ever again.
Yeah, I think that's kind of about how I feel about it as well. In addition to that, too, dude, like, can you imagine, like, if you wanted to be a parser in Sanctum, whatever, Reclear, you would have to get your, like, shards of domination and stuff.
Well,
like, delete all my shards.
I hope that those are just disabled. But yeah, we'll see what they decide to do with shards domination. I know a lot of people who've deleted theirs. That
mine are gone.
Quite foolish.
Mine are
all in my bank just in case this happened. So, haha, loser.
All right. Anyways, beyond that, I think that, I mean, this is like basically what we talked about last week with the Master Looter returning. We needed like some deterministic loot. I think that this is at least a step in the right direction. I'm interested to see what you guys say down in the comment section below. Are you guys happy with this? Do you think that there's any major red flags that you see right now? I mean, for me, I don't necessarily see anything that's like, holy shit.
What do you think about only being able to get 3 items over the course of the season and having them at this cadence of like after 3 raids and then after 2 and then after 1?
Okay,
how do you like that timing?
Shorter runtime, I think, is the key here for me. If it was a longer runtime, if it was a full length like 6-month season or something like that, I think I'd have a little bit more of an issue, especially if you're trying to get loot from Mythic Plus or other sources on like a guaranteed rate at like that highest item level. I would have more of an issue. From just raid and in a short runtime, I'm okay with 3 pieces of loot specifically. It's kind of weird that it's coming out of all 3 raids because that's a big ass pool of gear to be picking from, but like it's a for fun season. I think that the iteration could be like maybe more.
Yeah, I do empathize a little bit with like if you're trying to play like Prot and Holy and Ret, right? And it's like I got to pick what I want my 3 items to be, right? Like if what I'm doing with those. I definitely empathize with people in that spot, but so I think I would rather see something like just like every 2 weeks, right? Just on kind of a consistent basis, and by the end of the season, you can buy like 9 items and have them all upgraded if you want, and like I don't really see a huge harm in that, but I don't mind this as they're like if they're worried about that as just the way of like dipping their toe in, but long term I prefer to see a less limited version of it.
Now that you say that too, dude, it's so tough because like a lot of the things that you're going to be picking out from these things are either trinkets that are super positive for you. So like Old Warrior Soul, I think is something
they're like very spec specific for the most part,
or they're like weapons, like Vein Ripper and stuff like that. And it's those things that like may not even impact other specializations that you're looking to play, especially for things like Warrior or Ret Paladin. Dude, I didn't even think about that. Man, that is actually just a really tough spot if you're multi-speccing. So there definitely needs to be some iteration on this. Maybe that's the only big red flag that I necessarily see is like, how does this affect multi-classing? All right.
Let us know what you think.
Yep, let us know what you think. And we will be back next week. Hope you guys all have a great rest of your day, and we will see you guys later. Adios.